The night shift at the factory was always silent. Machines hummed, lights flickered, and workers moved like shadows. Among them was a girl no one paid much attention to. She wore the same gray uniform as everyone else. Her hood pulled low over her face. To most, she was invisible. Just another tired worker in the endless line of labor. But one human noticed her. His name was Daniel. He was not important. Not a leader or officer. He was only the janitor. He cleaned floors, checked lights, and fixed small problems. He had no reason to notice her. Yet his eyes kept drifting toward her corner. While others complained, she never spoke. While others rested, she kept working. While others smiled or cursed, her face stayed hidden. Daniel often wondered about her. Maybe she was just shy, maybe she had scars, maybe she did not want trouble. But deep inside, something felt different. She moved too smooth, too careful, like someone hiding from more than just eyes one evening. As the factory doors closed and the workers lined up for inspection, Daniel saw something strange. Her steps left faint traces on the floor. Almost like light, he blinked and rubbed his eyes. The marks were gone. Had he imagined it? He looked around. No one else seemed to notice. Everyone kept their heads down. Later that night, when the machines roared louder, Daniel worked near her section. He watched her lift heavy parts with ease, far more than her small frame should allow, yet she never showed effort. Her head remained low, her hoodie shadow covering her face. Daniel's heart raced. Was she really just a worker or something else? The silence around her was heavy. Other workers whispered when she passed. Some said she never ate in the common hall. Others said she never signed her name on records. She always stayed at the edge, never drawing attention. But Daniel had been watching long enough to see that she did not fit. One night, a spark flew from the broken machine near her. The wires hissed and the motor threatened to explode. Daniel ran forward, but before he could move close, she was already there. Her hands moved fast, too fast. She twisted the wires with strange precision. The machine calmed instantly. The danger gone, Daniel froze, his breath caught. He could swear he saw her fingers glowing faintly for a moment. But then she pulled her sleeves down, tucked her hands into her pockets, and returned to work. Like nothing had happened, he wanted to ask, but the words died in his throat. Instead, he stayed back, sweeping the floor, pretending not to watch. The factory bell rang. Workers left in groups, laughing, cursing, or complaining. But she left alone, her hoodie still low, her steps quiet. Daniel followed her at a distance, not sure why. She walked through the dark halls, past the locked gates, slipping into the night as if she knew every shadow. Daniel stood at the gate, staring after her, a storm of questions filling his head. Who was she? Why did she hide her face? What was that light on her hands? The more he tried to tell himself it was nothing, the more the image of her glowing fingers burned in his memory. The next day, Daniel arrived early. He wanted to see her before others, but she was already there, cleaning her section, her movements careful, precise, every action too perfect for someone ordinary. Daniel felt his chest tighten, the air heavy with something he could not name. He thought again. Maybe she was just a worker. Maybe he was imagining, but a voice inside whispered louder. No, she was not simple, not ordinary, not safe. That night, while mopping near her section, Daniel dropped his bucket by accident. The water spilled across the floor. Rushing toward her boots, she stepped back quickly, but for a moment her foot slipped. The hoodie moved just enough. Daniel saw a glimpse beneath, his eyes widened. Her skin shimmered faintly with patterns, glowing like silver lines under the surface. It was only for a second. Then she pulled the hood lower, turned away, and grabbed a cloth to wipe the floor. Daniel's hands shook, his mop trembling. He had seen it, he was sure. She was hiding something powerful. From that night, he could not sleep. Her shadow filled his thoughts, her silence louder than noise. She was not just a worker, no matter how much she tried to hide. And Daniel knew that one day soon, the truth would come out, and when it did, nothing in the factory, maybe nothing in the galaxy, would ever be the same again. The next night at the factory felt different. The air was heavier, the shadows deeper. Daniel kept glancing toward her section. The girl in the hoodie worked like always, silent, quick, and invisible to everyone else. But now Daniel's eyes carried a new weight. He had seen something under her hood, faint glowing lines across her skin. No one else noticed, but he could not forget. He swept the floor slowly, pretending to work, but his mind was restless. He watched the way she moved, her hands fixing broken pieces with strange ease, her body always hidden in layers of cloth, but every motion looked too perfect, like she had trained for something greater than factory work. At break time, workers gathered in the hall, eating stale bread and drinking weak soup. Laughter filled the room, curses and jokes bouncing between tables. But she was not there. Daniel looked around. She was gone. He slipped out quietly, following the empty halls. He found her near the back of the factory, in a shadowed corner by the old storage crates. She stood still, her hood low, her body tense. Daniel stayed hidden, watching, then he saw it. Her hands trembled slightly, and faint blue light ran across her fingers, like veins of fire under her skin. She pressed her palms against the crate, and for a second, the heavy metal box shifted without being touched. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He stepped back too fast, his boot scraping the floor. She froze, her head snapping in his direction. For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of her gaze. Even if he couldn't see her eyes under the hood, it was sharp, cold, and dangerous. But she did not move. She only pulled her hands back, hid them under her sleeves, and walked away, her steps silent, leaving Daniel shaking in the dark. The days passed, but strange signs followed. Daniel found faint glowing marks on the walls where she leaned. Lines like patterns burned into the metal, though they faded quickly. Sometimes lights flickered when she walked past. Sometimes machines powered on before she even touched them. The other workers ignored these things, or maybe they feared to notice, but Daniel saw. He always saw. One evening a worker spilled a crate of sharp tools. Heavy steel scattered across the floor. Everyone jumped back, afraid of the damage, but she moved first, faster than sight, her body bending, her hands catching blades mid-air. Not one cut touched her. Daniel's jaw tightened. No normal worker could do that. She set the tools down quietly, then returned to her place as if nothing happened. The others muttered thanks but quickly looked away. They did not want to think about it. Daniel could not stay silent anymore. After the shift ended, he followed her outside. The streets were empty, cold wind blowing across the factory walls. She walked ahead, step steady. Daniel quickened his pace. "Wait," he said. His voice trembling, she froze, her hood tilting slightly, but she did not turn. "I saw what you did," Daniel whispered, his throat dry. "With the machines, with the lights, with the tools. You're not like the others." Silence, long and heavy. Then she finally spoke, her voice low, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. "You should forget what you saw," she said. "Forget and walk away." Her words were calm, but sharp, carrying a weight that made Daniel shiver. He shook his head, his curiosity burning stronger than his fear. "I can't. I know you're hiding something. You don't belong here, do you?" She turned slightly, just enough for him to see the curve of her jaw beneath the hood, her lips pressed tight. "If you care for your life, stay away," she said. Then she walked off into the shadows, leaving him standing alone. Daniel's fists clenched. He should have listened. But the mystery wrapped tighter around him. Her secret pulled at him like gravity. The next night, the factory lights flickered again. Workers cursed, but Daniel noticed her eyes under the hood for the first time. Faint silver glow flashed for only a second. Like the reflection of stars, she quickly lowered her head. But Daniel had seen enough. He knew now, beyond doubt. She was not a simple worker. And as the shadows of the factory stretched long and dark, Daniel felt a chill crawl down his spine. He had uncovered a secret he was not supposed to see. And secrets like hers never stayed hidden for long. The factory had always been a place of noise and smoke. But that night the air felt heavier than usual. The machines groaned under pressure, sparks danced across wires, and workers moved nervously. Something was wrong. Daniel felt it in his chest, a storm building quietly inside the walls. He kept sweeping near her section, pretending as always. But his eyes never left the girl in the hoodie. She worked silently, her movements too fast, too precise, like a dancer trapped in a cage of steel and smoke. He had seen her strange glow, her hidden power. But tonight he felt something worse, a danger coming closer. Then it happened. One of the largest machines shrieked with a high-pitched scream. The floor trembled. Bolts shook loose. A massive arm of steel swung down without warning. Workers screamed, dropping their tools. Daniel froze, his mop clattering to the ground. The heavy arm would crush 3 workers in seconds. No one could move fast enough, but she moved. Her hood stayed low, her steps silent, but in a blink she was there, faster than human eyes should follow. Her hands pressed against the falling steel, her small frame holding it like a wall. Daniel gasped. The workers stared. Time itself seemed to freeze. Her sleeves slipped slightly, revealing glowing veins of silver and blue, light spreading across her skin as she pushed back. The steel groaned. The machine screeched. Then with one final movement she shoved it aside, saving the men beneath. The factory fell into silence. Only the sound of workers' heavy breathing filled the air. They stared at her, fear and awe mixing in their eyes. But she quickly pulled her sleeves down, stepped back and lowered her head as if nothing had happened. "Get back to work," she whispered, her voice sharp but quiet. The men nodded quickly, too scared to question, too shaken to thank her. They picked up their tools again, pretending nothing had happened, but Daniel could not move. His hands trembled, his heart thundered. He had seen it too clearly this time. No one could deny it anymore. She was not normal, not even close. He followed her eyes as she glanced toward the security cameras above, a flicker of fear passing across her hidden face. She knew someone had seen not just him, not just the workers, but the ones watching from higher offices. That night after the shift, Daniel tried to speak with her again. He found her in the shadow of the loading bay, standing alone, her hood pulled tighter than ever. "You saved them," Daniel said, his voice shaking. No one else could have done that, not even 10 men together. Her body stiffened. She did not turn to face him. "You should not have seen," she whispered. "But I did," Daniel pressed, stepping closer. "You're not a worker. You're something more, and now they'll come for you. Won't they?" She turned slightly, enough for him to see a glimmer of her glowing eyes. Silver like moonlight. "Yes," she said softly. "They will." Before Daniel could ask more, alarms rang through the factory, loud and harsh, red lights flashing across the walls. Workers panicked. Guards rushed into the halls. Shouts echoed everywhere. "They're here," she said, her voice calm but heavy with dread. Daniel's breath caught. "Who?" She did not answer. Instead, she stepped forward, her hood slipping slightly as she moved, revealing part of her glowing patterns again. Beautiful and dangerous, the guards stormed in, their boots pounding against the steel floor, weapons raised. "You girl!" one of them shouted. "Stop where you are!" The workers froze, fear spreading across their faces. No one dared move. Daniel felt his heart pounding. He wanted to shout at the guards, to stop them, but his voice failed him. The girl in the hoodie stood tall, her body trembling but her voice steady. "I am not your enemy," she said, but the guards ignored her, their weapons clicking as they prepared to fire. In that moment, Daniel made a choice. He stepped between her and the guards, his hands raised. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice finally breaking free. "She saved us, she saved all of us." "You can't move aside, human," the guard growled. "You don't know what she is," but Daniel stood firm, his legs shaking but his will stronger than ever. "I know enough," he said, his eyes locked on hers. "And I know she's not the monster you think." The guards hesitated, confusion flickering for a moment, but the tension only grew. The girl's hood slipped further, silver light spilling across her face. Every worker gasped, the truth no longer hidden. She was not a simple alien worker. She was something far greater. And now the entire factory knew it. The factory was quiet now, too quiet. The alarm still echoed faintly. But the guards had stepped back, hesitant, their eyes fixed on her. Daniel kept his position in front of her, shielding her without thinking. His heart pounding, his hands trembling. He could feel the heat from her body, the faint hum of energy that seemed to radiate from her. She looked at him, her eyes wide, glowing faintly silver. "You shouldn't do this," she whispered. But Daniel shook his head. "I don't care," he said. "I won't let them hurt you," the guards muttered among themselves. One of them spoke. "Sir?" "She's not like us, she's dangerous, we need to—" "Shut up," a taller man barked, his voice slicing through the tension. "Do your job. Capture her." "Do not hesitate," Daniel felt panic rising. His mind racing, there was no time to think. The girl was already moving, but differently now, slower, deliberate, like she was calculating every step. Suddenly the hood slipped just a little, enough for Daniel to see her face fully. Her eyes glowed brighter. Intricate patterns across her skin pulsed softly with light, silver and blue veins running like rivers across her arms and neck. Her hair shimmered faintly, metallic like strands of liquid starlight. The guards froze, their weapons lowering slightly as the truth hit them. This was no ordinary worker, no ordinary alien. She was extraordinary. One of the guards stumbled back, whispering, "What? What is she?" Daniel stepped forward. "She saved us before, now she doesn't need to fight to prove it, do you see? She's not your enemy." But before anyone could react, she moved again, this time faster, her body weaving between the guards with unnatural agility, dodging hands and weapons like water flowing around stones. She reached a stack of crates and leapt, landing silently behind the guards. Her hood fully off now, revealing her glowing patterns, her face calm but fierce. her eyes scanning the room for threats. Daniel's jaw dropped. He had seen her power before, but seeing her like this, fully revealed, was something else. She turned toward him. "Get behind me," she whispered urgently, her voice calm but commanding. Daniel obeyed instinctively, feeling a strange mix of fear and awe. The guards recovered quickly, raising their weapons again, but this time hesitation slowed them. They saw her power, they could feel it, and uncertainty flickered in their eyes. She didn't speak. She just moved, her hands tracing the air as if drawing invisible lines. And suddenly, a barrier of shimmering light rose in front of her, soft and faint, but solid enough to push the guards back. Daniel watched in disbelief. "How?" he muttered, but she only shook her head. No time to explain. The leader of the guards barked orders. "Break it! Use force!" One of them swung a metal rod, but it bounced off the barrier with a loud clang. Sparks flying, the guards fell back, stumbling over each other, fear overtaking training. Daniel felt his heart racing faster than ever. He had never seen anything like this, not in his life, not even in the most dangerous situations he had faced before. She took a step forward, her glowing eyes piercing through the dim factory light. "I warned you," she said softly, but every word carried weight. Power, authority. The leader hesitated, looking around at his men, uncertainty spreading like wildfire. Daniel could see it. The moment when fear begins to replace confidence, when the impossible becomes real suddenly. A loud bang echoed from the entrance. Another group of guards stormed in, more weapons raised. But she didn't flinch. Instead, she let out a low hum, a sound almost musical but vibrating with energy. The floor trembled, lights flickered, machines groaned, and the new guards froze, their weapons trembling in their hands. Daniel felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The factory was no longer just a place of work. It had become a battlefield, and she was the storm at its center. One guard screamed and threw his weapon down. Others followed, unable to resist the overwhelming presence. The glowing energy surrounding her seemed to fill the entire space, pressing down on every living thing. She looked at Daniel again. "We have to leave now," she said, urgency cutting through her calm. Daniel nodded, finally understanding. This was bigger than him, bigger than the factory, bigger than anyone could imagine. They ran together through the corridors, shadows stretching long under the flickering lights, her glow lighting the way like a beacon. Daniel could feel every step, every heartbeat, the danger closing in behind them, but also a strange sense of trust, like she was guiding him, protecting him. When they reached a small exit, a side door hidden behind pipes and crates, she paused, looking back, her eyes softening for a moment. "Remember what you saw tonight," she said. "Remember me not as a worker, but as who I am. And never tell them what you saw, or it will bring more danger." Daniel swallowed hard. "I won't," he said, though he knew the world would never feel the same again. She opened the door and a cold night breeze hit them, carrying the sounds of the city, but also carrying the weight of the unknown. As they stepped out into the darkness, her glow faded slightly, blending with the shadows, hiding her power, hiding her true self once again. But Daniel knew he could never forget. The girl in the hoodie was no ordinary worker. She was something far beyond imagination. And the next time the hoodie slipped, the world would change. The night was colder than Daniel had expected, the wind cutting through his thin jacket like tiny blades. The alley behind the factory smelled of rust and oil, a harsh reminder of the life Daniel had stepped into. Yet he couldn't stop thinking about her, the alien girl, the one who had just revealed her true self. She moved ahead of him, silent, her glowing patterns dimmed but still faintly lighting the path, each step measured, careful, as if she knew the shadows were alive, watching, waiting. Daniel followed, trying to keep up, his mind racing, questions spilling over like water he couldn't contain. "Who are you really?" "What are you?" he asked. But she didn't answer immediately, only glanced at him briefly, her silver eyes reflecting the dim streetlights. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but firm. "There is not much time. They will come for me again, and if they find you too, it will not end well." Daniel swallowed hard, the words sending a chill through him. "I don't care. I won't leave you," he said, but she only shook her head slightly, almost sadly. "You cannot understand yet. My life, my world. It is dangerous." "You are not ready," she said, "but you will have to learn." Quickly, they turned a corner, entering a narrow street littered with broken crates and garbage, the echoes of their footsteps bouncing off the walls. Daniel noticed movement in the shadows, small figures slipping between the buildings, watching, waiting. She froze, sensing it instantly, the air around them changing, tension rising like an invisible wall. "They are close," she whispered, barely audible. "We need to hide," Daniel's heart raced. "Where?" he asked, panic starting to creep in. She scanned the alley, then pointed to a pile of abandoned crates stacked haphazardly against a brick wall. "There," she said. "Move." They crouched behind the crates, silent. The sounds of the city muffled but not gone. Daniel's breathing was loud in his ears, but hers remained steady, controlled, calm. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours until shadows began to move closer, long shapes stretching under the weak streetlights. The first guard stepped into view, his eyes scanning the street. Weapon raised, another followed, then another, all moving with careful precision, trained and alert, but something seemed wrong. Hesitant, unsure, she whispered, "Do not make a sound." "Let me handle this," Daniel nodded, his eyes wide, heart pounding, unsure what she meant. She stepped out from behind the crate slowly, deliberately, her glow returning, faint at first, then stronger, illuminating the narrow street with an otherworldly light. The shadows froze, a murmur passing among the men. Their training battling with fear. One guard stepped forward. "Sir, what is that?" he stammered, pointing at her. She raised her hand slightly, a ripple of energy flowing from her fingertips, brushing the walls, the ground, the air itself. Suddenly, the nearest guard's weapon flew from his hands, spinning through the air before clattering onto the ground. The other guards stepped back instinctively, their faces pale, their confidence crumbling. Daniel could barely believe his eyes, the way she moved, the way the energy pulsed around her like it was alive, protecting her, warning them, threatening them all at once. She stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. "Leave now. Do not follow us." The guards hesitated, fear mixing with stubbornness, but one finally shouted, "We can't. We must capture her." Before he could finish, her hand moved again, a gentle wave this time, and he stumbled back as if an invisible force had struck him. Daniel realized then that she wasn't just powerful. She was controlling the environment itself, bending reality subtly, enough to intimidate, enough to protect. The remaining guards glanced at each other, uncertainty spreading like wildfire, and slowly, one by one, they backed away, disappearing into the shadows. She exhaled quietly, her glow dimming again. "That was close," she murmured, turning to Daniel, her face softer now, almost human, almost fragile. Daniel approached her cautiously. You're amazing," he said, awe in his voice. "How did you do all that?" She gave him a small, almost sad smile. "I cannot explain yet. It is dangerous. But you are learning. Seeing me like this, it is the first step." Daniel frowned, confusion and curiosity mixing. "Learning? I don't understand." She looked at him, her silver eyes meeting his, glowing faintly in the dark. "You will in time. But first, we need to disappear." They will not give up easily. They moved through the streets carefully, sticking to the shadows, avoiding cameras and sensors, every corner a potential trap, every echo a possible threat. Daniel kept glancing at her, trying to memorize every detail, every movement, the way her hair shimmered in the dim light, the soft glow of her markings, the calm determination in her eyes. They reached an abandoned subway entrance. "The stairs leading down into darkness this way," she whispered, and Daniel followed without question. As they descended, the sounds of the city faded, replaced by the echo of dripping water and distant machinery. They reached the bottom, a hidden platform with tunnels stretching in every direction. She stopped, turning to him. "We are safe here. For now," she said, her voice almost a sigh of relief. Daniel looked around, the tunnels dark and empty, but filled with a strange energy, a feeling of anticipation. She placed her hand on his shoulder briefly. "You have seen my power. You have seen what I can do. But there is more. More than you can imagine." Daniel nodded, gripping his jacket, determination rising in him. "Then I will be ready. Whatever comes next, I will follow you." She gave him a small, approving smile. "Good. Because the real journey is about to begin." And in the darkness of the tunnels, with the city far above, Daniel realized that nothing would ever be the same again. Not him, not her, not the world they were about to enter. The shadows of the factory were behind them, but the shadows of what was coming loomed larger than ever. The tunnels were silent except for the echo of their footsteps, each sound bouncing off the cold, damp walls. Daniel's eyes were wide, trying to adjust to the darkness, every shadow moving like it had a life of its own. The alien girl moved ahead confidently, her glow faint but steady, casting strange patterns on the walls. Daniel followed closely, every nerve on edge, wondering what secrets these tunnels held, and why she had brought him here. She paused at a junction, turning to him. "We cannot stay here long. They will search above. Sensors, cameras, patrols. They will not stop until they find me." Daniel swallowed. "Then where do we go?" "I can't hide underground forever." She shook her head slightly. "This is not hiding. This is learning. You need to understand, Daniel. Not everything is as it seems. These tunnels are old, abandoned for centuries, but they hold knowledge, secrets that the city tried to bury." Daniel frowned, curiosity mixing with fear. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" She glanced at him, her eyes glowing faintly. "The kind that could change everything. But first, you must see for yourself. Follow me." They turned another corner, deeper into the labyrinth, the air growing colder, heavier, almost electric. Daniel shivered, but he followed, trusting her instinct. Even though his mind screamed caution, finally they reached a large chamber, the ceiling high and lost in darkness, walls covered in strange markings, symbols that seemed to shimmer and move as if alive. Daniel stepped forward, his eyes scanning the walls. What is this place?" The alien girl's glow brightened slightly, illuminating the carvings. "This is a memory chamber, a place where the old ones stored their knowledge. Not many know it still exists," she said softly. Almost reverently, Daniel stepped closer, tracing the symbols with his fingers, feeling a strange warmth, almost like they were responding to him. She watched him quietly, then said, "These markings, they tell stories, teach lessons, record events. They are older than anyone in the city, older than the humans, older than me." Daniel's mind raced. "Older than you? But how can that be?" She smiled faintly. "I am not like others. I am part of them, yet separate. I carry what they left behind, knowledge, power, responsibility, all of it. And now you are part of this too." Daniel's heart pounded. "Part of this? Me, but I'm just me." She stepped closer, her hand reaching out, brushing against the wall. The symbols glowed brighter, reacting to her touch, then shifted, forming shapes, scenes, moving stories. Daniel watched, mesmerized, as images appeared in the air, cities rising and falling, battles fought, strange creatures moving, humans interacting with beings he could barely imagine. This is incredible," he whispered almost to himself. She nodded. "It is not for entertainment. It is for understanding. You need to see what has happened, so you can know what is coming. The world is bigger, more dangerous, and more wonderful than you have ever imagined." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the chamber, a distant vibration almost like a heartbeat. The alien girl froze, her glow dimming. They found a trace. "Someone is coming." Daniel turned sharply, panic rising. "We're trapped down here." She shook her head, calm but alert. "No, not trapped, protected. The chamber has defenses, old ones left them to guard the knowledge. But we must be careful. Do not touch anything else until I tell you." Footsteps grew louder, echoing in the tunnels, shadows creeping closer. Daniel's pulse raced. But he followed her instructions, standing still, watching the walls glow with the alien girl's faint light. A figure appeared at the entrance, cloaked, moving silently, scanning the chamber. She whispered, "Stay behind me. Let me handle this." The figure paused, sensing her presence, then reached out with a device, scanning the walls, the air, the chamber itself. The alien girl raised her hand slightly, a subtle pulse of energy flowing from her fingertips, just enough to make the intruder hesitate. Daniel gasped softly as he realized she didn't need to fight. Her control, her power was enough to protect them, to make the intruder unsure, hesitant, afraid. The cloaked figure moved back, then vanished into the tunnels. Leaving a faint echo of warning, she exhaled quietly. Turning to Daniel, "They are learning. They will not stop. But now you have seen the first truth. There is more, much more. And if you choose to stay, you will have to face all of it." Daniel's mind spun with questions, fear, wonder, excitement. And something else, a determination he hadn't felt before. I will stay. I want to see, to learn, to help," he said, his voice firm, resolute. She smiled faintly, approving. "Good. Because the next lesson will not be in this chamber. It will be outside, in the world that fears what we are and seeks to control it." The chamber seemed to hum around them, alive, almost approving, almost acknowledging Daniel's choice. She led him to a smaller doorway at the far end. Hidden, narrow, almost invisible. Through here, she whispered. The city above sleeps, unaware of the secrets below. But it will awaken soon. And when it does, we must be ready. Daniel nodded, gripping his jacket, taking a deep breath. I'm ready. Show me. As they stepped into the narrow passage, the chamber behind them faded into darkness, the symbols dimming, leaving only faint traces. Daniel realized then that he had crossed a threshold, a line into a world he could not have imagined. The alien girl glanced at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. The dark holds truth, Daniel. Fear it not, respect it. And together, we will face it. The tunnels swallowed them as they moved forward, shadows wrapping around them like living things, secrets waiting to be revealed, dangers lurking in every corner. And Daniel understood for the first time that his life, her life, the world they knew, would never be the same again. The darkness was no longer empty. It was alive, full of secrets, full of possibilities and full of challenges, and they were stepping into all of it together. The narrow passage twisted and turned, walls closing in like the tunnels themselves were alive, breathing around them. Daniel followed closely, every step cautious, every shadow suspicious. The alien girl's glow illuminated the path ahead, faint but enough to reveal strange markings, worn and ancient, etched into the stone. She moved swiftly, confident as if the darkness was her home, her territory. Daniel's mind raced, trying to remember every detail from the chamber behind them, every symbol, every lesson. But the fear of being caught made it hard to focus. Suddenly, the passage opened into a massive cavern, the ceiling lost in darkness, water dripping from unseen heights, and there in the center stood a figure tall and cloaked. Its presence commanding. Daniel froze, heart pounding. Who are they? He whispered, barely moving. The alien girl stepped in front of him protectively, her glow intensifying. They are the Overseer, she said softly, her voice tense. One of the oldest beings in the city. They know everything, see everything, control everything. Daniel's stomach twisted. Then why aren't we captured yet? She shook her head slightly. Because I have something they want and they are curious. But curiosity can turn into anger quickly. Stay close, Daniel, and do exactly as I say. The Overseer spoke, a voice like metal scraping against stone, echoing through the cavern. You have returned to the hidden tunnels, alien, and a human follows. Why? The alien girl stepped forward, calm but firm. To learn, to understand, to survive. Daniel's pulse raced as the figure's eyes, glowing faintly red, shifted to him. You human are out of place. You should not be here, the Overseer said. I am here because I choose to be, Daniel said, surprising even himself with the firmness in his voice. The Overseer tilted its head, analyzing him. You have courage, or foolishness. Time will tell, it said, then motioned toward the cavern's far end. Follow if you dare, but beware. The path is treacherous. The alien girl glanced at Daniel. Stay close. Do not speak unless I say so. They moved forward cautiously, shadows stretching long, shapes shifting unnaturally. Suddenly, a trapdoor opened beneath them, sending them sliding down a steep shaft. Daniel grabbed onto her arm, their momentum carrying them through darkness. They landed hard on damp stone, groaning from the impact but alive. The alien girl laughed softly, a sound like chimes in the wind. Always expect the unexpected, she said, helping him to his feet. Ahead, a faint light glowed, warm and inviting. This is the final chamber, she whispered. Daniel looked around, noticing strange devices along the walls. Old technology pulsing softly with energy. What is this place? He asked, awe in his voice. She smiled faintly. This is the heart of the tunnels. The knowledge, the power, the secrets. It all converges here. As they stepped inside, images appeared in the air, floating, shimmering, alive. The city above, the humans, alien worlds, battles fought in silence, choices made in shadows. Daniel realized he was seeing everything at once, history, present, and glimpses of possible futures. This is incredible, he breathed. The alien girl placed a hand on his shoulder. And dangerous. You see, knowledge alone is not enough. One must act, protect, and sometimes fight. Suddenly, alarms blared, red lights flashing across the chamber. They know we are here, she shouted. Daniel's heart raced. What do we do? She grabbed his hand, pulling him toward a hidden exit, a narrow tunnel barely wide enough for two. They want the chamber, the knowledge. but we will escape. Follow me." As they ran, the overseer's voice echoed through the tunnels. "You cannot hide forever, alien. You cannot hide forever, human." Daniel's mind raced, fear and adrenaline mixing. They reached another chamber, this one filled with machinery, pulsing energy lines connecting walls and floor. The alien girl touched a console, and a holographic map appeared showing the tunnels, secret exits and patrol routes. "This way," she said, pointing toward a narrow exit that led to the surface. Above the city, Daniel nodded, trusting her. Every step faster than the last. Suddenly, a squad of guards appeared, blocking the path, weapons glowing. The alien girl's eyes flashed, silver light cascading across the chamber. Energy shot from her hands, creating a barrier. Sending the guards back with a blast, Daniel ducked, heart pounding, then followed her through the hidden door. They emerged on the surface under the night sky, stars shining above the city. The wind was cold, but freedom felt warmer than anything Daniel had known. He turned to look at her, awe and gratitude in his eyes. You saved me," he said. She smiled faintly. "We saved each other. The city above may never understand, but we know the truth. And now you are part of it, Daniel." They stood together, catching their breath, looking down at the city, its lights twinkling like stars themselves. Daniel realized that life would never be simple again. The alien girl had pulled back the hoodie, revealed not just her identity, but the secrets of a world he could barely comprehend. And now he was ready to face what came next. With her by his side, the night was silent, but full of promise, full of danger, full of adventure, and together, they disappeared into the shadows. Two souls bound by courage, knowledge, and the secrets of the dark. The tunnels had taught them, the city had tested them, and the world above awaited. Unaware of the truth that had just emerged, Daniel took a deep breath, feeling alive, fearless, ready for anything. The alien girl looked at him, silver eyes glowing. "The adventure has only begun," he smiled, knowing she was right, and for the first time, Daniel understood that life was bigger than fear. Bigger than rules, bigger than anyone had ever told him. It was about choice, courage, and the people you trust, and he had found both in her, the alien girl who was no longer just a worker. She was a guide, a protector, and now, a friend, a partner, and maybe more. Together they vanished into the night, carrying secrets that could change the world, and hearts that would never be the same.